Hey there, Facebook family. I'm jumping in a minute early because we're also going to be broadcasting on Instagram as well. And hopefully all this tech stuff works. I was on a call last night and there was a bunch of high vibe individuals, very intuitive. And it was like the technology kept crashing. And one of the things that we said was, it's always like all this energy just kind of moves, and sometimes when we get a lot of great juju flowing, our stuff can kind of crash a little bit. So let me know if you're watching. I'd love to see if you are here. And so if you are here, please let me know and say, hey. If you are watching the replay, I want to know that you were here, and just say hashtag replay underneath in the comments. If there's something that you like that I say, please press the like button. And if you love what I say, press the love button. If I make you laugh, you can press the ha-ha button. But we're going to be on Instagram and Facebook here, and we're going to be talking about the 3 types of spirits that are around you, because some of you guys have confusion, right? And it's like, who am I actually talking to? That was a big one for me when I started to really feel and sense and actually just get really interested in spirit. It was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Who are these people? What do they do? Do I have to discern if they're bad or if they're not bad? And I had all these kind of questions. So it's really important for me to have those things answered. So I'm actually going to be talking about the overview, the categories of spirits that you can actually talk to, and then I'll give you my recommendation about who I think might be best suited for the job, depending on what exactly you're looking for. So hey, Camille and Chandra and Cheryl, and hey, good to see you guys. And also, hopefully you're in comfortable clothes. I know some of you are on the East Coast, and it's 9 o'clock at night, and here in Arizona, it's 6 o'clock. So it's interesting. Hey, Christy, good to see you. And good to see you guys on Instagram over here as well. So let's get into it, right? So when we're talking about spirits, we sometimes freak out. Now, I'm going to say that I'm more going to let you know about the helpers that are around you. So I'm talking about the 3 main categories. So let's just talk about the first category, and the first category would be angels, right? So a lot of us are really interested in angels, and we want to know, like, what are they? How do they work with us? And so with angels, there can be more universal angels. So those angels can be Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, and then we can have more personal angels that come through as well, but they're not necessarily assigned to us all the time. So angels for me, in the definition of my experience, are going to be entities that have never lived on the earth plane before, and they are accessible to more than just one person. So that means they actually embody love or protection, healing. There can be other things that come through, but it's just as if you could imagine an energy that just totally emanates this love, protection, or feeling, this healing sense. Those can be angels. And a lot of times we actually talk to our spirit guides, or we talk about our spirit guides, and we talk about them as guardian angels. Now that's okay, but they're not really angels. So we can say guardian angels because that's what we're used to, but I'm just kind of giving you a little bit more insight as to who exactly you could talk to and who may be around you most of the time. Now, I do not see angels around all of the time because they're accessible to many people. Now, spirit's very different because they can be anywhere at any time in an instant, versus we on the earth plane, we've got to travel, right? We've got to get in our car, or we've got to pick up the phone to talk to somebody. Spirit just can be anywhere at any time. That's how phone readings work. That's how energy just is. There's no body to limit us. Now, when we are talking about angels, they can come in a specific time, or they can come in and we can feel their embodiment or protection or love. I'm going to give you an example. So when we were young, my cousin's about the same age as me, and her mom, they were at the beach, and all of a sudden couldn't find my cousin, didn't know where my cousin was. And this man comes and says, I saved her, she was drowning. And my aunt goes all the way to my cousin, oh my gosh, are you okay? Turns around to thank the man, man's not there. That can be an example of an angel appearance. So yes, they can manifest and come through in this real world, but I only see them come through and like really in a very, I would say, big way when there's a real need that needs to happen. So angels are those who may not communicate with us on a basis of like having a conversation, but we can certainly feel their energy and can embody their energy. So who do you think, who out here has had an experience with angels? Let me see. Go ahead and let me know. And hey, Sarah and British and Amanda and Shally, and I don't know how to say this, but as Oma Mogo Bright. I don't know if I said that right, but hey, good to see you. So tell me if you've had an experience with angels. I'd love to know. And that can be something that's super powerful. And I've had so many other stories. I've heard of other stories about it. It's quite interesting when they come through. I know that I have a friend who was in an accident and she had a spirit there, but she did not know it was a spirit of what looked like her friend. And her friend kept saying, it's okay, I'm going to be there, or they're coming soon. They just really reassured her. And then when the paramedics came, they said, nope, nobody was here, honey. Nobody was here. Same deal. I have another friend whose daughter got into a bad car accident, and she was hanging off of a cliff, basically. And there was a man that came through. And the same words that he spoke were very similar to her grandmother who had passed. And all of a sudden, this man comes out on the cliff out of nowhere, calls 911 for her, and then they try to thank him, not there. Like, where did he go, right? So that can be a great example of an angel as well. So hey, Melanie, and hey, Paulette, good to see you. And if there's anything else, I want to know. I want to know if you've had an experience with this before, because they're pretty awesome, pretty powerful, but I don't necessarily see them having a conversation with us all the time, like I do some other spirits that we'll talk about a little bit more. So let's move on to the next category of loved ones. And actually, before we move on, I want to say that if you're clairvoyant, what I notice is that when angels come through, I see them more in colors. And if you are not clairvoyant and you're a feeler and you're empathic, I feel them more, so I can feel the energy that's coming through. And it's just this powerful presence. It feels like a high vibration. And I will oftentimes just see gold light or pink light or something. It just feels completely different. So now let's move on to loved ones. So our loved ones in spirit are definitely around. They just might not be hanging out with us all the time. And the reason is because, one, they may not really have a reason to hang out all the time. They have things that they want to do, right? They have hobbies. They have things that they want to learn about. They want to train in some areas, things like that. Or they could also be having their own healing. Sometimes that happens. And then sometimes I actually see loved ones in spirit in a reading sense when I'm reading somebody. That loved one in spirit might be hanging around them all the time. And it's just because they haven't fully embraced the spirit world and they want to be hanging out with their loved ones who are still living. So sometimes that happens. Now, some loved ones can go back and forth, but I wouldn't say that they're with us all the time, but they're certainly there. Now, loved ones in spirit are going to be different than angels, right? Because they're our loved ones. So they have lived this life and then they cross over into the spirit world and then they want to come through and still chat with us, talk with us, and make sure that we know that they're okay. And they can still give their advice and their opinions because they still have a lot, most of the time, a lot of their personality that's still retained because all they did was drop the body. And they still have their mind, they have their emotions, they have their thoughts, and those kind of things. So our loved ones usually still have their opinions. Not all the time, though. sometimes when we move into spirit, I want to say sometimes, because I'm going to say all the time we have this opportunity. When we move into spirit, we have an opportunity to become lighter. And when we become lighter, we get to dump out some of our ego, our guilt, anger, any kind of stuff that's been hanging on. And so we may remove judgment, right? Because now we have a higher perspective. I see quite a bit of loved ones in spirit come through in readings and want to apologize to the client, or even if they don't have anything to apologize for, they have kind of gone up in their vibration and they are coming through because they are in a lighter sense, and then they want to give extra help and a larger perspective. And one of the most common messages that I give from spirit, from a loved one, is I have a different perspective now. Now, not all loved ones do, but I have a different perspective, is normally what they'll say. And so they will see things a little bit differently than they were here. And another thing too is when they are living, they will a lot of times reference when they were alive, there was limitations. So limitations in their perspective, limitations in their mind, or something there. And then when they cross over, it's like a freedom where, oh, I don't have that limit anymore. It's fantastic. So that can be happening too when we have our loved ones. Now, we can talk with our loved ones in spirit for sure. They like to come through. They like to give us signs. And they also like to make sure that we know that they're helping us with their opinions sometimes. What's really interesting is in readings, I will have loved ones that want to talk about the grass being mowed. That was a recent one. And the flower bushes outside and the car that needs to be checked. And so they're trying to be extra helpful, just as they would when they were living. And so it's like those kind of things, even though those things are very mundane, it's more of like, no, we're helping. We want to be here. We want to make sure that, you know, that we're trying to help. It's funny, but it happens. I just had that the other day. I remember a woman in spirit was stringing beans. And she was like so busy that she couldn't even really talk to me because she was in the kitchen and that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to make green beans from scratch. But so they do those kind of things, and they also they do have the opportunities to learn and train. And so any loved one could, if they had the right fit and they felt like they were excited to, they could learn to be this next category of guide that I want to talk about. But I will say our loved ones in spirit are most often not our guides. So a lot of times we refer to them as guardian angel or guides. Now, our loved ones can totally help us, and they will give you their opinions for sure. And sometimes they even say, I'm going to be your guardian angel. But I just wanted to make the distinction between angel and loved ones, even though we just kind of interchangeably use those terms, and that's fine. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more heads up about really like the three categories of guides that are around you, or not guides, but three categories of spirits that are around you for sure. So I'm going to just check in with you guys and see how you're doing. And let's see here. So Cher says, yay, I'm going to see you in July. And Paulette says, yeah, interesting. They drop their body. They do. So we leave our physical body, and then we have an etheric body that we also drop. And then we just take our mind, our emotions with us, and that's how we're still able to communicate for sure. So Donna says, I'll watch the replay. Oh, Donna, have a great vacation. And Patricia says, hi, Whitney. This is Chris from Ottawa, Canada. Oh, cool. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. So if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments. But I just wanted to kind of give a shout out. And hey, Ryan, it's nice to see you here on Instagram as well. So those are some of the categories, but let's move into the next one, right? So this one is the main category that if you have been with me for a while, you know I talk about quite a bit. And it's the third type of spirit that's around us. Ta-dum, it's the spirit guide. So our spirit guides, whew, they do so much for us. And remember, did you guys see that glitch? I just saw a glitch on my computer, and sometimes that happens when I get excited because the energy just kind of moves on in. So our spirit guides are guides that most of the time have lived an earth plane life before. And they, most of the time, have not known us previously. So our spirit guides are specialists. Let's think of them as professionals. And they specialize in a certain area of expertise. And so they come through to help us because we need objective guidance. Now, our loved ones in spirit, they can help us, right? They're helping us with a car, or they will talk about maybe an upcoming dental appointment even. I see that too. But our spirit guides are more responsible for our life direction, and they help with protection, and then they also help us learn lessons. So they are going to be the more objective ones for us. That is why our loved ones are not our guides most of the time, because they are not able to be objective. In fact, they're subjective. And I have seen readings where my client has like 3 guides and then a loved one in spirit. And the loved one in spirit is not jiving with the spirit guides because the loved one has a family opinion, right? And our spirit guides are like, hey, this person has to do X, Y, Z. We have to make sure they learn this lesson. They're committed. They're in it for the long run. Our loved ones love us and they just want us to feel good all the time. Our spirit guides want us to feel good all the time, but they know sometimes we got to get through stuff in order to get to the end goal. So our guides come in and help. I do want to talk about our spirit guides in the sense that they can be our loved ones, but a small little tiny percentage, because one, when our loved ones cross over, they aren't trained in being a spirit guide, so they have to go through a training process. 2, well, we've already talked about it, the loved ones in spirit can be subjective and we need an objective opinion about what's going on. 3, our loved ones in spirit, once they're trained, they may not have an opening. We might not need them because we already have guides that are really in it for the long run with us. And then 4, loved ones might not be a good fit for us, because if you are an artist and your grandfather, who was a mechanic, wants to connect with you, it might not really be a good fit because he doesn't know anything about art. And so that would be the same thing as you wouldn't in your family go to somebody who doesn't know about art, right? If you're an artist, and get their opinion. So that's a way to look at it as well. And that's some of the big reasons why they're not our spirit guides, but they can still help us. They still come through in readings, they give their opinions, and boy, do they ever. They can really give us their presence, and they want to comfort and support. But our spirit guides, they normally will guide us, teach us, and protect us. And when you get interested into intuition and mediumship, you get guides that specialize in a whole host of other things. But I just wanted to kind of let you know the categories of guides that are around. Within these categories, you have all these other roles. So within angels, you have all these roles. And within spirit guides, you have all these roles. But I wanted to mainly address the 3. Now, here's a tip. When you want to talk to your loved ones in spirit, I am going to suggest that you talk to your loved ones in spirit through your spirit guides, because your spirit guides know day in and day out what's going on, when it's best to communicate, and how your energy communicates. That's always going to be better with a spirit guide because they know your energy system, right? And it's like they are the, let's say, certified electrician. They know all the codes and ins and outs of your energy body. And your loved ones, let's just say they're the handyman. They know how to make it work, but they don't know all the codes and all the processes. And so I always want to go with the spirit guides for sure. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to go through your comments real quick. And so good to see you, Laura. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm so glad to see you. And Patricia and Janet. Susan says, I think some of us have the confusion of negative and positive spirits. Can you help us identify them? I have experienced both, so that I know they're real. So Susan, that's a great question. I want you to think of the spirit world as you would the earth plane world. There are people here that you love and get along with and vibe with and connect with. And then there's spirits in the spirit world that you love and vibe with and connect with. But there's some people that you don't on the earth plane. And then there's some spirits that you do not in the spirit world. The good news is you've probably recognized that the more you are who you are, and by law of attraction, you attract more of your tribe, or you attract more people that you connect with. The same as in the spirit world with law of attraction. The more that you are who you are, and you're not really living in the fear sense, you don't really have to worry so much about attracting negative or fearful things. Now, as far as negative and positive, I'm going to look at it as people you like, people you don't like. And so the good news, Susan, and the best thing that could ever happen to me was getting to know my spirit guides. When I got to know my spirit guides, I had this huge relief and aha moment, and I knew the different roles. So remember I was talking about we have the big spirit guide category, and we have all these different roles underneath. Well, there are a couple spirits when you get more interested in intuitive development and you are connected to your guides that actually, Susan, filter you from the negative energies. So I had this huge aha because I felt like I was juggling a million different things, and I was like, oh my gosh, who am I talking to? Is it a bad spirit? Is it a good spirit? How do I know it's real? How should I know if I trust? And so the best thing that you can do, Susan, is to develop a relationship with your spirit guides who are like your handlers. They basically say, hey, this spirit can talk to Susan, and no, the spirit cannot, which is amazing and fantastic, and I loved it, and I had the biggest relief of ever. I felt like I'm not alone. I don't have to do this. It's not like it is in the movies. Oh my goodness, I have a team of people that support me. They are like, I have a support staff, and I don't have to worry about it. It is fantastic. Okay, hey Michelle, good to see you. And Patricia, let's say Paulette says, I'm so glad you explained that to me when I came to your class. Okay, good, it makes so much sense. All right, British says, I had a psychic reading before. Was that information coming from my spirit guides? So British, that's a great question. It depends on who you had the reading with. So for instance, if you had a reading with a psychic who is only a psychic and not a medium, psychics actually, now let me back up for a minute. So remember how I said that sometimes we can call our spirit guides guardian angels because we just kind of intermix the terms? Well, that's what happens on this earth plane. Sometimes we can call somebody a psychic, but they really do something else, and we intermix the terms. But so that was my clarification and my disclaimer. But if you're talking to just a psychic, like that's it. Psychics connect to the mind energy. So that would be you and the psychic connecting to the energy around you. So literally your mind. And so they're only connecting to your mind, your emotions, what's going on, more so right here in your energy. If you're talking to a medium is going to be talking to the medium spirit guides. The medium spirit guides go over to the client's spirit guides, and they look at the client's energy as well. Then your spirit guides process it and give it to the medium. The medium's spirit guides process it, give it to the medium, and the medium gives you the information. So I'm going to say that really quickly because that might have been confusing, because let's say I'm the medium. My guides go to you and talk to your guides and your energy. My guides come back to me, give me the information. I give it to you. So British, to answer your question, if it was a medium, or sometimes we'll say psychic medium, it is the spirit guides giving the medium's guides information, so it comes through. And British, everybody works differently, so it really depends on who you were working with and how they work. That's how I work. And on a true definition of medium's always going to use spirits to give the information and not necessarily connect to that person's energy, for sure. So let me know if you guys have any questions. It's good to see you guys over on Instagram. Good to see you there. And I've got a question from Pam. So Pam says, how do we get to know our spirit guides? So Pam, one of the biggest things, and for one, I'm going to have a free training for you in June. I don't have the date yet, but I'm working on it diligently. And so, Pam, it's actually going to be all about spirit guides, and I'm going to answer your questions there and how to establish more of a relationship with them. So, Pam, if you are not on the list, please jump on and you'll be notified when that free training is, and I'll put it on Facebook as well. But the number one thing to really work with your spirit guides is going to be create a relationship with them. So to create a relationship with them, what do, right? When we're living and we want to create a relationship with somebody on the earth plane, what do? We talk to them. We have to create a relationship. We can't just sit around and close our eyes and never pick up the phone or anything like that, right? So same goes for spirit. We have to create a relationship with them, because if you had a team, so Pam, if you had a support system, like let's say that they were literally on the earth plane, like you hired a team to support you, then what would happen would be you would talk to them, right? If you did not talk to them, they would probably be like, what are we here for? Why am I helping you? You are not giving me any direction and you're not helping me out here. So same as with spirit. We've got to actually talk with them, develop that rapport with them, and then create that relationship. And one of the best ways to do that is going to be through consistency. We've got to make some consistent effort, right? So there's a free training coming out in June. I just don't have a date. Just stay with me over the next few weeks as I work on it, and then as soon as I've all got it, I'll let you guys know when that's coming out here. Christy says, spirit guides are like our filters. Yes, they are. They are so amazing and awesome for sure. So Amber has a question. She says, what's the best way to meditate? Oh my goodness, it's going to depend on who you are and how your energy is. And so when we meditate, some people can clear our mind. There's two types of meditation. There's going to be just clearing our mind and allowing ourselves to be completely, I would say, blank. No, I shouldn't say two types. Let's just go with three. There's a lot of types, but I'm going to give you a big category. So one is just basically doing nothing, letting the mind go. There's another way you can meditate where you focus on something. So you can focus on a flame, or my daughter focuses on the clock ticking, and it just helps her clear her mind. Or you could also go ahead and do a moving meditation as well. So with a moving meditation, that would be walking. So if you're walking, if you're out in nature, your body's moving. Cooking is another way to do a moving meditation. And also showering is another way to do moving meditation. Now, that's kind of weird, right? But it's not an intentional meditation. It's more, my body is moving, and so therefore my mind's clear. And that's why everybody gets so many messages in the shower and when they're cooking, and unfortunately, when you're driving, right? It happens that way. So Susan says, thanks. Are spirit guides immediate or a slow-growing process? It's a great question. And Susan, I will have a lot more info for you. Just like I was telling Christy, there's going to be a training all about spirit guides. But spirit guides start around us when we are in the womb. They start sensing our energy, so they move towards us. They start seeing how our energy is and that vibration. And then when we have that message, we have that energy around us, like in our mind, our spirit guides start to come close to us and they start working with us. So we actually have spirit guides before we're even incarnated in the world. And there's a couple different ways that we actually gain spirit guides, but to answer your question, yes, they're with us. And most of the time they last a lifetime. Some of them do change for sure. So Patricia says, how can I make contact, receive messages from my spirit guide? So how can I make contact, receive messages from my spirit guide? I think you might be asking, and I think that's Chris. I think you might be asking maybe like, how do you receive messages from your spirit guides? And so that is a long one for sure. But what I would say is set your intention. So a quick answer without going into the whole process, because I'm going to give you a whole lot more in June. I would say a quick answer would be set your intention and quiet your mind as much as you can. And then allow, if you have a technique to quiet your mind, fantastic, but set your intention to connect to your spirit guides. And then remember, we want to establish a relationship with them, right? Because if we're not establishing a relationship, it's going to just be the same way as it would when they're living. Like if we have living friends that we don't talk to a whole lot, we might know a little bit about them, but we don't know what's going on in their daily life. So the more that we actually connect with our spirit guides, then they're going to understand more. And they're ethical, so they're not going to be hanging around us all the time trying to get into our mind. And so that's why we have to connect and have that relationship and rapport for sure. All right, guys. Well, I'm glad that you got to spend this 30 minutes with me here on this Thursday evening. And I'm going to be doing a little bit more lives more regularly over the next month. So I'll have some other topics as well. And I hope to see you soon. I hope you have a fantastic evening and get lots of great rest. And remember who you're talking to in spirit, right? So I like to encourage you to talk to your spirit guides, but also it's nice too to know that angels can be around and your loved ones in spirit can be around too. So get to know the types of energies that are around you so that you can feel much more comfortable. All right, so I'm going to say bye to Facebook first. It's good to see you.